Here are the top stories for today, March 3, 2021. It's the third day of the country's vaccine rollout for frontliners. Health Secretary leads the inoculation of medical workers in Quezon City. Despite harmonized travel rules and ease restrictions, Ilocos Sur and Cebu City retain swab test requirements for travelers. Another move towards economic recovery, the COVID-19 vaccine rollout is seen to boost bank lending in the country. And the Philippines joins mounting calls for the release of Myanmar leader and the return of the country to its previous state of affairs. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. It is the third day of the nationwide vaccine rollout in the country. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III led the inoculation of frontliners at the East Avenue Medical Center earlier today. Duque personally administered the jabs to the hospital's medical chief, Dr. Alfonso Nunez. Nunez was among the 160 frontliners who were inoculated with the COVID-19 jabs. Duque said he is happy that the Filipinos' vaccine confidence in Sinovac jabs is slowly getting higher. He also said the DOH will probe reports that some politicians have already been inoculated with COVID-19 jabs, even if they are not on the vaccination priority list. Frontliners at the National Kidney and Transplant Institute were also inoculated today. Around 150 medical workers at the NKTI got their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Quezon City has so far a total of 1,370 active COVID-19 cases with almost 31,000 recoveries and 846 deaths. About 200 frontliner doctors, nurses, and aides of the Southern Philippines Medical Center will be the first to receive Sinovac vaccines once they are rolled out in Davao City on Friday, March 5. SPMC Chief Dr. Ricardo Audan said they hope to vaccinate at least 5,900 personnel in 2 weeks. Audan volunteered to be the first to get vaccinated to show that the vaccine is indeed safe and effective. He said in an earlier survey, 72 to 75% of the health workers here agreed to get vaccinated. At least 12,000 doses of Sinovac vaccines arrived at the Davao International Airport on Tuesday. Department of Health Davao Region Director Dr. Annabel Yumang said the vaccines will be allocated to about 8,000 eligible healthcare workers. Yumang said she would also get her first dose on March 5. After the SPMC personnel, frontliners in tertiary private hospitals will be the next to receive the Sinovac doses. Aside from Davao City, several local government units in Visayas and Mindanao are preparing to roll out their respective Sinovac vaccination programs. Officials who will receive their first shots to set an example are hopeful that more people will choose to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Here's our report from Benj Mondo.
Nearly 4,500 health workers in the Caraga region will receive Sinovac shots during the rollout of COVID-19 vaccination. The Department of Health said the health workers are employees from 11 priority private and public hospitals in the region. In a meeting on Tuesday, the health agency presented the health assessment algorithm for Sinovac, which contains health issues the patients might have and the corresponding actions vaccinators must do. In Negros Oriental, Governor Roel Digamo and Assistant Provincial Health Officer Dr. Leland Estacion will be among the first to receive the vaccine against COVID-19, regardless of which brand will arrive first. Estacion said the governor asked capital officials and other agency heads to lead by example by receiving the vaccines. Local officials earlier admitted that some residents have apprehensions on the COVID-19 vaccination drive as they convince the public on the safety of the vaccines. She said what is more important is for priority sectors like medical workers and frontliners to receive the vaccine at the earliest time possible. Meanwhile, some officials and health workers of the Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center in Cebu will get the first shots of the Sinovac vaccine on Thursday. Dr. Mary Jean Loreche, DOH-7 Chief Pathologist and COVID-19 spokesperson, said she will join 4 officials who will lead the ceremonial vaccination along with 768 healthcare workers. Loreche said the arrival of 7,200 doses of CoronaVac on Tuesday has given Cebuanos hope that the pandemic will end soon. For his part, Mandaue Chamber of Commerce and Industry President Stephen Yu said the vaccine arrival has given renewed confidence to the business community in Cebu. Cebu Chamber of Commerce and Industry President Felix Tagyam echoed Yu's view, saying the vaccine brings relief to businessmen. The national government included Cebu on the list of priority areas for its COVID-19 vaccination program. Earlier today, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque confirmed that over 400,000 vaccine doses from British drug maker AstraZeneca will arrive in the country on Thursday evening. President Rodrigo Duterte will lead the simple ceremony for the arrival of the AstraZeneca jabs at the Villamor Air Base. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondo.
As local government units wait to get and roll out their share of COVID-19 vaccines, National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said local officials can soon get vaccinated as well once the country gets more supply of vaccines. Galvez reiterated that President Rodrigo Duterte has decided to prioritize healthcare workers first. Galvez said they plan to finish first the inoculation of 1.7 million healthcare workers nationwide. This came after Marikina Mayor Marcelino Teodoro said he wanted to be among the first to be inoculated with Sinovac's CoronaVac vaccine, but was not allowed to do so by the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases. For his part, Teodoro said he only wants to get inoculated to allay the fears of his constituents on the safety of the vaccines. Galvez and Teodoro led the ceremonial rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines for medical frontliners at the Marikina Sports Complex on Tuesday. The city of Parañaque is ready to inoculate its residents against COVID-19 as soon as their supply of vaccines arrive by the second quarter of the year. Parañaque Mayor Edwin Olivares said on Tuesday that the city has already ordered what the local government would vaccinate to its constituents, and even the logistics is already prepared as well as the vaccination team. He said the city's first batch of vaccines would come from AstraZeneca, much like many local government units have ordered for their own citizens. AstraZeneca is expected to deliver 200,000 doses. Meantime, the city government has also already begun negotiations with Moderna, Pfizer, Novavax, and Johnson & Johnson. Parañaque residents who want to avail of the COVID-19 vaccines can go to the city government's website or scan the quick response code posted in Olivares' Facebook page. The best vaccine is the one that is available. Healthcare workers at the PASAY City General Hospital made this remark yesterday during the rollout of the COVID-19 inoculation drive yesterday. Dr. John Victor De Gracia, Deputy Chief of the hospital's clinical service, urged his colleagues to get vaccinated. De Gracia said he volunteered to be inoculated to protect his family against COVID-19.
I hope yung mga kasamahan kong mga frontliners, healthcare workers na meron pang doubts about the vaccines, magpabakuna na po. Kasi this is your added protection, level of protection. Kasi tayo po yung at risk. Kami po mga healthcare workers ang at risk sa infection.
Another medical frontliner, 39-year-old nurse Reynel San Gaspar, said getting vaccinated is his contribution in winning the fight against the pandemic.
Since vaccinate magpapa-inject naman tayo ng vaccine, makakatulong to para i-boost yung immune system ko. Tapos makakabawas din to sa mga iniisip natin regarding sa sakit na mahawaan o makahawat.
Meanwhile, Ryan Pontejos, an admitting clerk at the hospital, said getting inoculated will reduce the risk of infection, especially for frontliners like him.
malaking tulong talaga ito sa bansa natin, lalo na kami sa aming mga health workers na mga frontliners o sa inyo din mga medias, kasi kayo po yung lagi nasa labas din. Malaking tulong ito para sa ating lahat kasi sa protection natin po hindi to wag tayong magwalang bahala or dalawang isip.
Still to come, Ilocos Sur and Cebu City are not letting their guard down despite ease travel rules across the country. We tell you later why. And the Department of Foreign Affairs has a new policy for its officers who want to bring domestic staff abroad. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP, at ng himpilang ito.
Quarantine facilities for COVID-19 patients would be converted into vaccination centers. National Task Force Against COVID-19 Deputy Chief Implementer Secretary Vince Dizon made this remark in a briefing yesterday. Dizon said talks are underway between the Department of Public Works and Highways and local government units regarding the plan. For now, he said, quarantine facilities will remain intact to accommodate COVID-19 patients. Dizon also said once the pandemic is over, these facilities can be converted into evacuation centers. As of January 4 this year, DPWH data showed there are 509 COVID-19 quarantine facilities in the country with a bed capacity of over 19,000. While the national government has harmonized travel rules across the country, it is now up to local government units whether to follow or to impose their own restrictions. In Ilocos Sur, Governor Ryan Singson released an executive order updating travel protocols. A negative RT-PCR test result with other documents is still required for returning residents, tourists, locally stranded individuals, and frequent border crossers. Travelers will undergo screening at borders, and only those who show symptoms will be required to undergo quarantine. Cebu City is also enforcing an RT-PCR test before entry policy for travelers. Mayor Edgardo Labella said the measure will ensure the protection of local residents amid the continued rise in COVID-19 cases in the city. The Department of Health in Region 7 recommended the implementation of the measure for travelers despite Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia's pronouncement to lift travel restrictions. Currently, only a medical certificate is required for travelers before entering the province. The Phase 2 of the anti-measles, rubella, and polio supplemental vaccination has been extended for another week in Negros Oriental. This as health authorities recorded a low turnout of target beneficiaries. DOH Negros Oriental Chief Dr. Socrates Villamor said the immunization will run until March 7 in compliance with the order of the Department of Health. Data from the Provincial Health Office showed the province has already achieved a 63% immunization rate for measles and rubella and 64% for oral polio vaccine. The immunization program was earlier halted due to bad weather caused by Tropical Storm Auring. Under the program, Negros Oriental aims to vaccinate over 142,000 children below 5 years of age. Officers of the Foreign Affairs Department will no longer be allowed to take domestic staff abroad. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. made this announcement in a Twitter post. Locsin said applications of domestic staff of DFA officers in foreign posts will now be processed by the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration or POEA. However, existing contracts of domestic staff who are already abroad will still be honored. This comes after President Rodrigo Duterte dismissed former ambassador to Brazil Marichu Mauro from service for maltreating her Filipino helper, which was caught on video and made headlines in the South American country. The helper, identified as Leonila de Ocampo, thanked the president over his decision. In business, as the COVID-19 vaccine rollout is expected to revive the economy, more consumers are expected to benefit from stronger bank lending. Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation Chief Economist Michael Ricafort says further easing of quarantine restrictions may mean more economic activities, including the availment of loans. Aside from this, the government's stronger infrastructure spending is also seen to boost bank lending. Data from the central bank showed a deeper year-on-year contraction in bank lending at minus 2.4% from January's minus 0.7%. Ricafort also said the low interest rate situation due to the 200 basis points cut in BSP's key policy rate last year will entice more loan applications. Up next, the Philippines joins the international community in calling for the release of Aung San Suu Kyi in Myanmar. And a special Jubilee year for the 500th year of Christianity in the Philippines is set in Cebu. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng coronavirus disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The Philippine government has called for the immediate release of Aung San Suu Kyi as well as the complete return of Myanmar to its previous state of affairs. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. made the declaration during the informal ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting on Tuesday. In a reiteration of Manila's previous position, Locsin said the country continues to recognize the Army's role in preserving Myanmar's territorial integrity and national security. At the same time, it recognizes the unifying role of Suu Kyi and Myanmar's destiny. He urged the rest of the ASEAN bloc to stand by Myanmar and extend necessary assistance to its people and its government. Brunei, the current chair of ASEAN, also called on all parties to exercise utmost restraint as well as flexibility. Brunei said the bloc is ready to assist Myanmar in a positive, peaceful, and constructive manner. Pope Francis has granted the request of Cebu Archbishop Jose Palma to declare a special Jubilee year in commemoration of the 500 years of the arrival of Christianity in the country. The Archdiocese of Cebu on Tuesday said the Holy Father approved the request along with the attached plenary indulgence early last month. Based on the Pope's decree, the year-long Jubilee celebration would start on April 4, 2021 and last until April 22, 2022. The Archdiocese of Cebu announced that it would solemnly launch festivities through liturgical rite, which includes the opening of the Holy Door of the Cebu Metropolitan Cathedral. Similar celebrations will be replicated in 8 other churches of the diocese, while other strategic churches will be declared as pilgrim sites. A series of Jubilee celebrations will be organized, which will involve the socially and spiritually marginalized and peripheries of society. The Anti-Terror Act, or ATA, is essential to upholding national security and the fight against violence by armed groups, according to multi-sectoral organization Liga Independencia Pilipinas, or LIPI. Secretary General Jose Antonio Goitia maintained that the ATA will help liberate people from the threats of violent extremism and radicalism. Goitia said Filipinos deserve to gain freedom against tyranny, oppression, violence, killing of innocents, and the long-standing armed insurgency. He said the government must adopt measures that could prevent terrorists from freely operating and to stop the exploitation of indigenous peoples, women, and children. The ATA could also protect Filipinos against personalities in the government sector covertly supporting terrorists such as the New People's Army, or NPA. LIPI and other groups staged a picket rally outside the Supreme Court on Tuesday in support of the resumption of the oral arguments on the ATA. To make business transactions easier and faster amid the pandemic, the Department of Trade and Industry encouraged businesses in Lanao del Norte to transact online and avail of the government's digitalized services. Claire Gighe has the story.
The Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, Lanao del Norte Provincial Office launched the online business name registration system, or BNRS kiosk, to further emphasize digitalization and automation of government transactions without necessitating face-to-face procedures. DTI Lanao del Norte Provincial Director Ruel Paclipan said this online kiosk facilitated the end-to-end process, implying that the client can already accomplish business name processing with the office all at once.
Usa ni siya ka initiative nga ang atong mga business registrants dili na gyud mosulod pa sa atong opisina. End-to-end na gyud siya, meaning to say mag-apply siya online, magbayad siya online, siya ra po'y mag-print sa iyang certificate. So it's an end-to-end process.
He explained that the online BNRS kiosk will serve as a one-stop online service center. The DTI Lanao del Norte believes they have launched the pioneer online BNRS kiosk among all the offices in Region 10 and the whole country. And with the onset of this installation, the provincial office anticipates a noticeable decrease in face-to-face transactions in the office. For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gighe of the Philippine Information Agency Iligan City Information Center.
In sports, the PBA staff members who helped in making the league season bubble in Angeles, Pampanga will be honored during the PBA Press Corps Awards night on Sunday. The 17-man crew led by Deputy Commissioner Eric Castro organized the bubble set up just for the league to proceed with a 45th season amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Also receiving awards alongside the top players in the PBA bubble are legendary Crispa coach Baby Dalupan and team manager Danny Floro, Coach of the Year Leo Austria, Executive of the Year PBA Chairman Ricky Vargas, Presidential Awardee Vergel Meneses, and Defensive Player of the Year Sean Anthony. Earlier, PBA beat reporters announced that the semi-final decider between Ginebra and Meralco is the game of the season, or in this case, the game of the bubble. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. It's the third day of the country's vaccine rollout for frontliners. Health Secretary leads the inoculation of medical workers in Quezon City. Despite harmonized travel rules and ease restrictions, Ilocos Sur and Cebu City retain swab test requirements for travelers. Another move towards economic recovery, the COVID-19 vaccine rollout is seen to boost bank lending in the country. And the Philippines joins mounting calls for the release of Myanmar leader and the return of the country to its previous state of affairs. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.